What's up? I'm Jack. Welcome into the LFC Transfer Room. Today's video is an opposition preview, a bit different than usual, a bit shorter, but it's a great interview between Chris Stonadge and Art de Roché, who's a writer for The Athletic covering Arsenal. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for all your expert interviews, all your Liverpool content. Let's get into it. After the intro, we'll have Chris with Art.
Thank you very much, Jack. And Chris in university is joined by Art de Roché of The Athletic. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me. Hopefully, I'll be able to give a decent insight to Arsenal ahead of the weekend.
Yeah, well, it's been to get stuck into Arsenal, really. I mean, it's been sort of a topsy-turvy season, but just to put it in a good way, I think you're on an upwards trajectory, am I right?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, they had a pretty poor start to the season, losing on the opening day against Brentford, and then following that up with losses against Chelsea and Manchester City. It was almost like they were in a crisis situation again, which hasn't been too uncommon, especially since the Arsene Wenger days after his departure. But since that happened and they had the international break to regroup, bring players in, like Ben White coming back from his COVID illness, I guess we'll say, and forming the back five, including Aaron Ramsdale. They've had a real upward trajectory, as you put it, Chris. And the first part of that was just finding some defensive solidity. So with that back five, and then after that, it was about adding a bit more attacking threat with Emil Smith Rowe and Bukayo Saka, who have been very important on the wings for Arsenal. They did start the season flirting with a 4-3-3 at times, but Mikel Arteta has since set on almost a 4-4-2, like everyone was used to about 10, 15 years ago, with Saka on the right and Smith Rowe on the left. And those two have really driven this Arsenal team forward. And then you've got Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang up top, who probably would have liked to have scored more goals by this point in the season, but has still performed well when you look at his all-round game. So, yeah, definitely say they're on an upward trajectory, but this is going to be a different level of test for them, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal have scored 13 Premier League goals this season compared to Liverpool's 31. But as you did mention, this offensive solidity has been instilled by Mikel Arteta. I don't think we've seen that at Arsenal for a very long time.
Yeah, when if you actually think back to when he was first appointed, so almost 2 years ago now, in
Really?
December, yeah, he's just had his 100th game in charge was against Watford just before the international break. So it's been a while, even though it seems like it was just yesterday. But just before he signed, one of the key aspects to Freddie Ljungberg mentioned that he wanted to change in his short time in interim charge was how Arsenal defended transition moments. That was something that under Unai Emery, the team were just getting killed on almost every match. And I think Liverpool are a team who are especially good at in those moments. So there was a big emphasis on basically solidifying that defense quite early on, and it's taken a while to get there. But now you've seen, I believe Arsenal have kept 7 clean sheets in the Premier League this season with Aaron Ramsdale, I think exceeding most people's expectations since signing. But in front of him, he has a centre-back pairing in Gabriel and Ben White, who are still quite young, but they have the personality, both with and without the ball, to create a real good platform in front of him. And then Tomiyasu on the right is a bit more of a defensive fullback rather than someone where you used to bombing down the wing, like say Trent Alexander-Arnold or Andy Robertson. And then on the left-hand side, Kieran Tierney does offer that attacking threat, but also is a bit more defensively sound. So yeah, in that kind of group of that defensive unit, you have a group of players who have become very reliable over the past 2 months for Mikel Arteta.
Yeah, I mean, Smith Rowe is the one for me. I mean, everyone in their fantasy teams right now is loving Emil Smith Rowe. How much has he developed? Obviously, he just scored for England as well. He's clearly become a very, very key player, right?
Yeah, it's been great to see because he's someone who has been almost. It's not been a matter of if, it's been more of a matter of when for him because he was involved in the pre-season of 2018. So right after Arsene Wenger left, he was involved in Unai Emery's first ever pre-season. That was of Singapore, and he scored against Atletico Madrid. Obviously, it was a pre-season friendly, so you couldn't read too much into it at the time. But he is someone who's had excitement around him for quite some time, and I think, since then, the loans he's gone on have been very important, even though he didn't play much at Leipzig. He did learn quite a lot there in terms of they helped just expand his football knowledge in terms of the way he plays the number 10 position. I spoke to Paul Mitchell, who used to be Leipzig's sporting director, for a piece on Smith Rowe in the summer, and he mentioned how they used to try and drill into him basically how efficient he has to be when receiving the ball once it's turned over, because I guess in the first 7 seconds in which you win the ball, that's when you have to strike. That's when you're most likely to score a goal off the back of a turnover. And I think he's really taken that into his game. And then when you look at the Huddersfield loan, that's probably where he got his first real experience of senior football. He played about 20 games for Huddersfield after going on loan there in January. And then last season, you were just kind of waiting for him to get brought into the first team. It took a while because he suffered a bit of a shoulder injury at the start of the season, and then he was slowly dripped into the Europa League squads. And then Boxing Day was, I guess, his big break, coming in against Chelsea. And since then, he's been a key part of the Arsenal attack because before he stepped into that number 10 role, there was a real lack of creativity, but he speeds the game up so much for Arsenal in those positions. And now it's great to see that not only is he adding to the attack in terms of bringing the ball from the middle third into the final third, but he's now adding goals to his game, which, as he mentioned, the FPL gamers are loving at the minute, and I think Arsenal are too.
Absolutely. I mean, moving on to sort of a look at Anfield and how Arsenal do there. They've not been. I think I remember the last time. I think I was there the last time Arsenal beat Liverpool at Anfield. I don't know if it was the last time, but Van Persie was incredible. I remember that. But we're talking about an adverse record. It's not been great for Arsenal in recent years. How are you feeling going into it? Do you think that this could be the time that Mikel Arteta's team does it? And if they do, they could go above Liverpool.
Yeah, I don't want to get too carried away. I think that actual last win was just after that Van Persie match.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was Podolski and Santi Cazorla scoring
oh,
the
yeah,
derby
there we
game.
go. Yeah.
But
I think I've wiped
yeah,
it from my memory. Thank Christ.
yeah, it's been a while since Arsenal have won there, and I think the main issue over the years has been they've just been exposed every time they've gone to Anfield. They've either just gone behind really early and had to chase the game, and not known how to do that. So the big thing for me is how they play, how they approach this game this time, because you can't go there and try to play Liverpool at their game. I think if you do, you're just going to get sliced through. So how, I guess, rigid the defense is going to be quite interested, because I think so far the biggest test has probably been Leicester away for them, where they were under a significant amount of pressure in the second half in particular, and they were able to ride that out. I think Aaron Ramsdale in particular rose to the occasion on that day, not just with his save from James Maddison's free kick, but even in the second half, he was very brave coming off his line as well, which I think helped. So I think when you look forward to this game, it is going to be more about the areas in which Mikel Arteta wants Arsenal to defend him mostly. I think this season Arsenal have been pressing quite. I say Arsenal. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has been leading the press quite a bit. Arsenal have been pressing. I think at the time I wrote an article about it a couple of weeks ago. It was 5% above the average they were pressing in the final third. Whether they continue to do that at Liverpool, I'm not sure, because you can just get played through by Virgil van Dijk. So if they do decide to drop deeper, I think they have, say, Gabriel, Ben White, Tomiyasu. Those are three players who I think would be quite comfortable in defending deep. But then you just have to have the, I guess, the explosivity to burst forward from those moments and capitalize on attacks you actually do have. So it'll be an interesting one. I'm not going to say I'm overly confident because it is Arsenal, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see if there's any contrast in the approach, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we ask this question to all of the athletic writers we get on, but what are the biggest weaknesses that you think Arsenal can exploit out of Liverpool on the weekend?
It's interesting. I think when Liverpool attack, and I think looking back over the past 12, 18 months, so if you think back to the Community Shield and the game a few weeks before that, I believe, in the Premier League at the Emirates, Arsenal did very well when the ball was turned over. And I think if Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold do push quite high, as we, I guess, would expect they do, and the ball's lost, I think Saka and Smith Rowe would have a decent opportunity to, especially with how big a pitch Anfield is. I think they would have fun if the ball's won in those areas. And I think the interesting thing, if you're looking at it from an Arsenal perspective as well, is whether Kieran Tierney or Nuno Tavares start. I think Tierney's back fit. He's played for Scotland over the international break. But when he was injured, Tavares played very well in his place. I think he was another one who almost exceeded expectations because he didn't look flustered. And the one thing with him is he's very chaotic, I'd say, where even though he's a left back and you might expect him to go around the outside most of the time, he's very comfortable on his right foot and he will dribble inside to the center of the pitch at times, which I think can catch teams out. So if you're looking to get at Liverpool and be a bit more unpredictable, then that might be something for Liverpool fans to look out for if Mikel Arteta does decide to keep Nuno Tavares or even bring him off the bench to add a bit more, unpredictability to the attack.
And I'm going to flip the question around. What can Liverpool exploit from Arsenal?
Yeah, I think when you look at Arsenal, I think if you're able to get in between the lines, that's where you probably cause problems. Thomas Partey may be fit, I think. He obviously had an injury that kept him out of the Watford game just before the international break, and he didn't play for Ghana in the international break. So the midfield pairing, even though it worked well against Watford, so that was Maitland-Niles and Lokonga. Liverpool is a different it's a different league, really. So that midfield battle, I think, if Liverpool are able to pop it round, say with that midfield three, and just I guess make the lines a bit angle the lines so they can bypass those two midfielders. I think that's where the game could swing in Liverpool's favour. I think when you look at Arsenal in the wide areas, which I know most people would think of with Liverpool talking about Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, and then of course the wing backs pushing on as well. I think Arsenal are probably better suited to that challenge than they were, say, a year ago. Just because of the way the defence is set up, as I mentioned before, Tomiyasu is more of a defensive right back who can play centre back as well. So I think his natural inclination would be to drop a bit more anyway, which wouldn't give as much space in behind. So that's why I think maybe if that defence does drop and the midfield isn't as used to doing that as well, having someone, if Salah maybe comes off the line a bit more, that's where I think there'd probably be a few issues for Arsenal. So that midfield area, and also if they don't get their press right, I think sometimes Aubameyang has gone by himself and not had the support. So if that happens as well, I think um, that may be an issue too. So Arsenal just have to be a bit smart about how they play in the distances between their 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 attacking line, their midfield line, and their defensive line. I think.
Yeah. To finish off, I want to hear your score prediction and your player who you think will shine the most, your man of the match.
Okay, score prediction. It's a tough one. I don't think it would be smart to predict an Arsenal win.
I'll go on, do it.
Just because of their record there over the years. Obviously, they had a couple of good results against Liverpool about a year ago, but I think it's going to be quite a tough task this time around, even though they have been in good form. So I think it would be maybe 2-1 to Liverpool, but hopefully Arsenal actually give them a fight, which they haven't done in recent years. I wouldn't be too, I guess, surprised with a defeat, and I'm not saying that because like I want Arsenal to lose. It's just because of the side that Liverpool are. And then man of the match, is this in terms of both teams or
for either side? Which player do you think, in terms of like the tactical side of it, will
Okay.
like be most accustomed to it?
I think for Arsenal, it would either be Saka or Smith Rowe. Just because if you're able to get them on the ball with space in front of them, I think they're going to flourish at Anfield, especially with how the Arsenal attack is set up at the minute. It is very much geared towards them being the players who are crucial to what Arsenal do. And then for Liverpool, you obviously I think Mo Salah is going to be the obvious answer. But then I also just think whoever plays in midfield, whether that's I'm not sure if Henderson would be ready.
He's touch and go, but at the moment we're looking at Thiago, Fabinho, and Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain as the three.
I think Fabinho might be the one for Liverpool. Just I feel like he's someone who is very clear in what he has to do, and the speed at which he will get the ball into the players either side of him. I think that could cause real problems for Arsenal if they don't lock him down pretty early. So it may be like I don't even know if obscure is the right word, but I think if it's not a Mo Salah, then Fabinho is going to be the one holding the keys to the game.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Art, for a tremendous interview. Really appreciate Art's time on the channel. You can find some of his work in the description down below. If you like what you see, make sure to drop a subscribe on the channel. We're having some big things in the pipeline over the next few weeks as we get to a new year. The next few weeks is going to be a new age for the LFC transfer room. I've been Jack. Thanks again to Chris for conducting that interview. We'll catch you in the next video. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.